And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, March 1st, 2014. This is Season 8, Episode 9. I'm Scott.
Yeah, I'm James.
I'm Matt.
And I'm RJ.
Welcome to the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. That number again is 334-272-9228. You can check out ingamechat.net for all the links to get in touch with us. And you can find us on Twitter at InGameChat, as well as over on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. We're streaming the cam feed right now on twitch.tv. You can find us there. Just head over to Twitch, type in InGameChat in the search. You will be able to find us. And you can join in the chat room live while we broadcast. Looks like our chat room is actually working today, which is nice. So Dennis is in there from work. But glad he is able to make it at least in some way. Also, we've got, lots of people just popped up.
Good. I don't have to go through the list.
No. We got Arioka in there, Cavalier UK, Lavos, and Ghost Bear has joined the chat room. Nabokov fan, of course, Nathan92, Stufu, Three Blades, and Truth Unknown in the chat room so far. So welcome everybody in the chat room. Welcome everybody listening. Welcome to the show. Even before we got started, we had a phone call, and we'll go straight to it. Brock is on the phone. Brock, you there? Hey, Brock. I should put you on. Brock, there you are.
Hello.
I'll learn how to work this equipment one day. 15 years is just not enough. Hey, man.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Surprised with a phone call from you. What's up?
Well, I heard you were going to talk about Thief, so I wanted to call in.
Oh, Thief.
Howdy, Brock. And yeah.
Well, let's just get right into the discussion. You can just kind of be a part of the round table with the little impressions that we've probably got so far.
Can we open the discussion by stating very clearly where everybody is?
Yeah, we
so
should.
That we don't step on anybody's
Brock,
experience.
you go ahead and start. How far in are you?
I have finished the prologue.
Then shut up.
You are
the prologue. Never mind. You finished the prologue.
The prologue. Okay.
You're fine.
I'm prologue and first mission.
Okay.
Because I played it twice. So
we'll get into that.
Prologue about 3 times, fiddling with a different setting.
Yeah, see, it was the same thing for me.
You got it on PC, I suppose?
Yes.
Okay.
Same here.
So we're all PC.
Yeah, prologue and just got done clearing out the clock tower, so I guess not quite to the first mission. You know, when you're you have to go talk to your fence guy.
No, I think that is the first mission.
Oh, is that the first mission?
I think that counts as the first mission.
Okay, then I guess prologue and still in the first mission.
And you're further than me.
Okay.
Okay, so none of us are very far.
No.
Yeah, and I am not
and
in
you're
it.
not playing it, Scott?
Gamefly sent me the PS4 version.
Yeah, you got the worst version.
Apparently.
Really?
Yeah,
I put both in my queue just for a greater chance of getting one or the other. And they sent me the PS4 version, and I said, okay. But apparently Digital Foundry did their little thing and says, it doesn't perform very well on the PS4. But
it doesn't perform very well on either of the consoles, but the
of the
Xbox
two,
One has apparently a slight edge. They're going to really not enjoy the cutscenes, and I hope you're not picky about frame rate.
Wow.
We'll see when it comes in.
Having said that, how is it running on everybody's PCs?
Kind of choppy.
Yeah, it chugs a bit on mine as well.
Does it really?
What are you running on, Brock?
Pardon?
What are you running on? What kind of rig do you have?
It's an i7. It's a few years old, though. It's running like a GTX 260 or something.
Okay.
It's not, it's not cutting edge anymore. It was pretty future-proof when I bought it, but that was a few years back. So, yeah.
I have the absolute champion i5 2500K, overclocked just a wee bit, and a 7970. So I don't have a top-of-the-line rig, but I have you know, it's a champ. It really, really, it's a pretty good rig. So
I mean, I'm playing Batman Arkham Origins at the same time.
Yeah.
It looks absolutely amazing.
And it plays well?
It plays flawlessly, like it's smooth as silk. So
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the Origins either, especially when I crank up the PhysX as well.
Yeah, I don't have. I mean, I have Scott's old rig, so he knows what I have in there.
Oh, so you're kind of running a pair of 5850s.
Yeah.
So you need to be thinking about
Upgrading. Yep.
For me, I had everything turned on absolute maximum, and I was 60 without a problem. I was 60 frames, and I think it looks fantastic. So plays very smooth. No performance issues for me at all.
I did the bench test, and I mean,
That's the benchmark tool in that game is very bad.
Okay, because I was getting about 30 something.
I was getting about 13.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's part of the problem is the way that it's actually recording and promoting the individual frames, the minimum frames. I think it's actually counting frames while it's in some kind of pre-render state.
Okay.
I don't. Some other people were more concerned about it. I'm running fraps. I actually ran the game.
Nabokov's asking how much
solid.
RAM you've got.
I have 8 gigs. I just moved to a solid state drive for the first time
Hey,
ever.
yeah. We'll talk about that.
Which is absolutely wonderful.
I've got 12.
I'm at 8. Okay, you have 12. I'm going to go up to 16, but I'm at 8, which is enough for.
I did find it once the level has loaded. I mean, it's choppy at first, but then once it loads, and I tweaked the settings a little bit, turned off the anti-alias thing, and it seems to be a lot smoother after it's had a chance to kind of get its feet under itself.
Right.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit.
Well, having established that, what do you think?
Well,
And let's point out, for anybody that isn't aware, let's just point out, for anybody that's listening and anyone who isn't aware, this is the 4th game.
Yes, in the Thief series.
In the Thief
universe?
Let's say franchise.
Okay, franchise.
Because it has not been the same groups of people every single time.
Yes.
Thief 1, The Dark Project, Thief the Dark Project, came out in 99?
98, 99.
98, 99, around the time when all of the most wonderful games in the history of the world were released. On the most amazing, 18 months in gaming, you wouldn't believe. Unless you didn't have a PC, and then you... Whatever. Don't worry about you. Thief... Thief...
98, November of 98.
Was it also November of 98?
November of 98, yep.
Sounds about right.
God, the things that came out in November
I
of
know.
98.
Metal Age Thief 2, February 29th, 2000.
Okay. And then those 2 games, they were first-person games, not shooters. It was a brutal but wonderful lesson in what late 90s PC game design actually was. It was essentially defined and created the stealth genre. And you play in a kind of steampunky universe. You play a guy who's a thief. And there's story and development and all these other things, but it was about being incredibly sneaky, using your tools to your advantage.
You're not
being
a
silent.
Tank. You can't fight really.
No, you're never supposed to fight.
Bonk people in the back of the head, and that's it.
And that's
run
the
away.
most you ever want to do.
Yeah.
The entire goal, perfection, was defined by being a ghost. Absolutely not really getting in a fight at all. Or you could define perfection for yourself, but whatever.
Yeah.
Thief 3, which wasn't even labeled Thief 3, but was Deadly Shadows, was one of those things that we would say suffered from a design change in the original Xbox era, when a lot of things were moving from the PC to the console, and the designs had to be completely reimagined in order to accommodate much less powerful machines. It's very much like Deus Ex Invisible War and the massive change it underwent from the Deus Ex original game.
The third Thief came out in, what, 04?
Right. And there was actually a huge amount of backlash against this game because it resembled the first 2 in no way whatsoever, other than the character. But that was 2004. It has been 10 years since that game. Enough time for people to look back on it fondly. But those 3 games are excellent representations of the kind of stealth, sneaky, thief, steal things, pick locks, avoid guards.
In a way, also game production at that time of, when they came out, they were, I think, very much representative of the times.
They really, really were. And to be fair, I think this one is too.
Yes.
But we should note that this was originally, they were kind of acting like it was Thief 4. It has been in what is often referred to as development hell for about 5 years. It's gone through many different hands, many different types of fundamental designs. There has been a lot of angst and hand-wringing about it. We were hopeful because some of the more recent reboots of older franchises like Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and the new Tomb Raider turned out not in necessarily the spirit of their predecessors, but nonetheless pretty good.
And fun.
And wasn't this made by the same people who made Deus Ex?
Same
studio?
Same studio, but different staff, different actual developers, I think, which is partly, where some of this angst and worry comes from. And Thief is a very loved thing, a very loved franchise, and people have opinions about things from the past. And if, you hear us talk a lot, as 90s PC gamers, several of us, we are very, very much in touch with what that past was like. And we really regret that the future isn't the one that we wanted, the one full of games like System Shock 2 and Deus Ex and things like that.
Yeah.
And so there was an awful lot of worry and an awful lot of growling and kind of anger over the release of this game. So that's the preamble. Back to my original question.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, just a side note to this. I named my son after Garrett. So,
Really?
Yeah.
I like that name.
Garrett. I named him Garrett. So
It's a good one.
yeah, and when my wife found out I named him after a video game character, it was
Too late.
yeah,
It's
basically,
already on the paper.
So I have some strong feelings about this franchise. That
I would say
being
so.
said, I'm liking it. I mean, it's different, and you can feel the differences. But what I think bugs me the most is from what I've seen so far, and just from reading the reviews, it seems like they've thrown almost all of the lore and the world of the series. Like I don't know if there's any keepers, I don't know if there's any Hammerites, all of that stuff that made it really like a nice fleshed out world to sneak around in. And the mechanics seem passable, at least so far. I mean, I've only done the prologue, but and I do really like sort of like the physicality of the character, because you see his hands, you see his legs,
hands and feet, and they respond accordingly. They really do.
Yes.
If you look down at his feet, like when he's moving across specific surfaces, he's moving correctly, and it's one of those games where there is weight, like the weight of the character's body translates.
You're not just a floating pair of eyeballs.
No, you're not, and it's not overbearing. Sometimes a weight-bearing avatar in a video game can be a little too much. I don't feel like it is here. I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I'm all right with it.
So I'm liking that, and I really do like how you can customize the I guess not the difficult.
Oh, in the HUD?
In the HUD, and just when you start the game up, you can basically turn off all of the helpers and make it as difficult or as easy as you want it to be.
Kind of a true 98 mode, I suppose.
Actually, yeah, no. Thanks for. You just cut across like 3 separate stories. So we have to go back to that conversation in a bit. Here's one of the first things that I realized is that A, there's no reason why more games shouldn't have something like this.
Yeah.
B, whatever else may be wrong with the game or in dispute about the game, the abolition of the lore, the nature of the hub type setting and the really small, tight corridor levels, the fact that there is no free jumping, that it's all contextual.
And you have to hit a button to use your blackjack.
Right. There's no, you don't select that. You don't even have a sword, so there is really no legitimate option for combat. You can't shoot your rope arrows wherever you want. Lots of the things that defined the game in the past are now gone. I understand that. I really, really do. And I would, of course, I'm from the same era. Of course, I would rather have a proper Thief game. I don't even think that's realistic, and I believe that's a separate rant and conversation. But if it were not, I will submit that if it were not for what this game offers as probably the most customizable interface and difficulty setting I have ever seen in a game, it actually would not be very well received by really anyone. I think it is the salvation of the game. Because at a normal glance, you have the choked and confused UI of almost everything else in the world. Weapons, ammo, your light meter, your health meter, your mana,
Focus,
your
reticle.
focus, your mini map, your maxi map, your indicators over the guys so that you can see how much of a threat any one of them is at a particular time or how aware of you they are. Every little piece of information overload.
Yeah, all that stuff.
That the masses, I guess, whoever they are, we refer to them often, might need in playing this game. You can each and severally disable these things. You can go through down an enormous list and disable any of those things you wish. You can... the degree of difficulty that you can create for yourself in a custom sense, you can essentially remove the UI entirely.
Basically, yeah.
You can make it so that any interaction with a civilian is an automatic fail state. It's got quick saves, which is very, very nice, but you can disable them. Yes. And make it so that, like in the old days, it's just chapter saves.
Now, if
you can...
all of these things that they have included in there that you can turn off, not the aspect that you can turn them off, that's nice, but the fact that they're in there, is that part of your reasoning as to why it's a product of its time?
No.
Okay.
No, this very much is the salvation of something that would otherwise be kind of...
mediocre.
Mm-hmm. It would be trapped in the mediocrity of modern game design and accessibility. Accessibility is the most important thing in the world when you spend 5 years and $100 million making a video game.
You want to get to everybody.
Because you spend 5 years being terrified that nobody's going to buy it. And you
also have those
designs.
You also have that moment where your other team who made Tomb Raider from the same company gets looked at as a failure for just doing...
For selling 3 to 5 million copies.
Exactly.
It's a terrible world. We talk about it a lot. And I think it actually should be central to nearly every conversation about the industry, like we as fans when we talk about it. But the fact that they did that, they made a lot of compromised decisions in the design, but they gave you this option to turn the game into one of the most customizable and theoretically brutally challenging games.
Yes.
You can make any interaction with any character, like any time you're spotted by a guard, you can make that a fail state. You can turn the game into hardcore mode.
There's the Iron Man mode.
You can actually play an Iron Man mode where any fail state at any point in the entire game, that's it for your save. You got to start over.
Oh.
Yep.
And if you move into this customizable difficulty setting,
and it doesn't unlock after you beat it or anything, you just have to do
from the gate.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you can, if you move into these customizable difficulty settings, there's like the maximum master difficulty. But if you go master custom, which is master plus any of these additional custom things, each custom setting is weighted to award additional points at the clearance of a level. That then puts you on a global leaderboard with other people. And I have to say, one of my first thoughts was this would make fantastic speedrunning, fantastic competition speedrun streams, where you set the master custom difficulty for Iron Man mode, and you know, if you ever watch speedrunning, you know it's all about like learning that quickest route through something and how to exploit the natural aspects of a particular game to get done what it wants to be done. But looking at it just as a way to play the game and interact with the game in its own way, and this is, a lot of people will not want to hear this, in its own way, this is more like the games of the late 90s than just about anything else, because it allows me to make it so that this game doesn't want you to do combat. The entire nature of this game is to be a ghost.
Hide in the shadows.
And steal like 500 candlesticks per level. That's a little silly, but I have never felt so compelled to ghost through a game in an absolute sense. If I'm spotted once, I'm quick saving, or I'm reloading a quick save. Like I won't tolerate that.
That's exactly how we played Dishonored. So
yeah, and it's like Dishonored. It's reminiscent of Dishonored in certain ways, in terms of level design and everything, but without any rewarding combat. So there's going to be a lot of people who don't care for that. But
that's why I play these games. I don't want to. I mean, the fact he doesn't have a sword is fine with me. I don't want to use it. I just want my rope arrows, my water arrows, and my blackjack.
You know, and I would like more options. I'd like to be able to put my rope arrows anywhere. I'd like for there to be secrets that I have to jump to, and I have to poke around the level a lot more. I've actually found that although the level design seems kind of linear and restrictive, it really isn't horrible. I found a lot of really cute and difficult to find options moving through everything. You know, and I'm playing on... I started just on master difficulty, and I realized I want to restart on master custom because there's a couple of other things I want to change. But you know, the game has, what is it, the focus mode, which is essentially...
I turned that off.
Yeah.
Things I turned off before I even started playing the game, so I don't even know what this focus mode looks like. So.
I don't either.
It reminds me of the Tomb Raider, you know, how things
I
sort of
I asked you how you were playing. I think you should restart.
Yeah?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I'm only saying that because...
I'm still so early in.
You're early in,
Yes.
and I know where you came from. And I did an enormous amount of reading about what other people had to say in the couple of days leading up to it. And I'm really convinced that it does not fix the design. And if you've got, you know, if you got it stuck in your craw that you can't get past these changes, I understand. And these things don't save the game. But nobody else has done this.
Yeah. From when you when we first talked the first day and everything, you asked me like my settings and everything. After I got done talking with you, the next time I loaded it up, I actually knocked the UI in the HUD all the way, you know, down to just basically like loot glint.
Turn off the waypoint indicators.
Yes.
Turn off every one of those pieces of hand-holding. And it doesn't feel like, as in other games, you know, it would feel like artificially hard. Every one of these boxes that I tick, the game just gets artificially harder. With this one, every box you tick, every switch you flip, the game feels more like what it wanted to be. If that makes any sense.
Oh, totally. That's exactly the way it feels once you start to do those adjustments.
And
I've noticed the difference just walking around without, you know, my HUD being so completely, you know, I don't want to say cluttered because it's not the most cluttered I've seen.
It was pretty cluttered.
I've seen worse. But I mean,
it doesn't stop it being really cluttered.
True. But with it being so where it's just nothing, you know, the only way I know, and even without like the light meter, there's still ways of telling. You know, number one, when you're crouched, you can see your hands.
Right.
So you know if you're standing
the original
there,
light meter.
Yeah. Or when you actually do go into light, the screen gets, you know, flashes a little bit white.
Which is, I know a lot of people have complained about that, but since I'm not running with the light meter, I actually don't mind it. It kind of gives me that sense that I've stepped back into it a little bit.
Yeah. So I think I might actually just do that.
I would recommend not turning on the slow movement, though. I did that at the start, and it feels like you're stuck in molasses.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
No, I haven't messed with that one.
And having said that,
why does that exist? What is slow movement?
It's one of the options in the custom difficulty. You can make it so you run and jump and move slower. It just makes it harder.
Just more careful, I guess.
So that you can't dart. You have to pay more attention to guard patrols and pathing and everything, so that you can't just dart around everywhere you want to go. And it's one cute little additive feature, which is the
sprint.
No, it's not what is it called?
The swoop.
The swoop.
Yes. Thank you.
The swoop mode is absolutely lovely. It just feels. It feels really good, you know, to like snatch something off the back of somebody's belt and then just like Zoidberg your way out of and just like get there back around a corner and hide and hope that he didn't see you and everything. It does. Again, look, I am actually going to recommend the game. If it's very cheap. So much bad press. There were probably so few pre-orders.
And I should say the game we're talking about. In fact, that was a call. They tuned in late, and all we heard was the game. This is Thief.
This
we're
is
talking
Thief.
about.
This is the new Thief release from Square Enix.
Yeah.
It is. I will recommend.
Reviews were all over the place.
They were, and it was some
good,
of the
some
most
terrible.
ridiculous. Some of them were 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then the people, Rock Paper Shotgun of all people, who have spent a year
of just being
tap dancing all over its reputation.
Well, exactly. That's what surprised me was how much of a. I don't want to say it's glowing, but they basically
compared to what they've been doing, it's
happy
glowing.
that I didn't waste my money on a pre-order.
Yeah. John Walker was, and he said right out, he was like, "This is not a good Thief game. It is in fact a very bad Thief game." But and then he did some. I can't always get along with what that guy writes, but he did something. He said something that I very, very much believe in. He placed the game in context and said, "Look, divorce yourself from your expectations of a Thief game. If you walk into this game already talking about all the stuff that you wish it had that you know it doesn't, you're talking yourself out of a good time. But if what you want to play is a very, very good stealth game that is all about stealth, that very specific flavor of gameplay, this is as good as it gets right now. And it's better than we've had in a very, very long time."
Yeah.
And James, you and I and Jeremy, we even talked earlier about how it seems a lot of the reviews they just can't get past. They want to just basically think that this is a reboot of Thief, and they just can't let the original Thief go. They can't judge it on its own merits.
It is
always
totally
by that
fair.
lens.
It's because it is using the name, because it is using Garrett, because it's roughly the same world. You have to bring that into play, but you have to weight the context. You have to say, like, look, this is what it is, and this is, again, what I think Walker did in the Rock, Paper, Shotgun review, essentially is what they do.
Yeah.
They don't give a score, but he just spent, a dozen paragraphs talking about, this is just how I feel about it, and it's a complicated and divisive game. But at the price you're probably able to get it for, I really recommend it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend spending, whatever the $70 or whatever it's cost.
No, and I think we said this last week when we were right on the verge. It's like, I don't know, that's $60, but $33.75, which is what I paid for it.
Found it from Green Man for $33.
Absolutely. I would say this is probably a decent $40 game. And if you're the kind of person who feels like they can enjoy a stealth game and understand this is not about making you feel super awesome like a combat ninja or anything. This is about the feeling you get by having a perfect run through a thing and doing something correctly.
Are all of you playing it mouse and keyboard, I suppose? I assume? Yeah. Okay.
I am, yeah. It plays perfectly fine on mouse and keyboard.
I am not.
Oh. Just curious.
Gamepad.
All right.
The only thing I can say is that, like many other stealth games in the past, the one benefit you're going to get out of a gamepad is the analog stick. You're not going to have to press 3 separate buttons for different movement speeds. You know what I mean? Like walking slow.
You're always crouching, right? Because that's all.
I mean, essentially, yeah, because it's
a
stealth game. But just being able to press that analog stick and control your movement speed is one of the benefits I've always liked of a controller in a stealth game. Having said that, the mouse and keyboard controls are fantastic. So, probably wait for a sale. If you can find it at a cheap price now, I actually will recommend it. And I know there's going to be people that aren't going to like it, and that is honestly fair. But it's a surprising release in a lot of different ways. And it's good to hear that you're actually liking it for what you've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily hitting all of the story stuff that I like, at least from what I've seen. And I miss that. And I miss the nice old 2D cutscenes and things like that they used to have. But I also understand that that's 10 years ago, and even there it was, that from the last time I saw those things. So,
yeah,
I'm making my peace with that, but the gameplay itself and just how it feels when I'm doing it, when I'm playing the game, it's still hitting all those same chords, and it's making me happy. So,
yeah, same here.
That's all that matters. I mean, I can get past the story and the voice acting and whatnot if it's not necessarily doing what I want it to be, as long as I can swipe a key off somebody's belt.
Stufu in the chat room says, so Thief 2014 sounds like a bad Thief game, but an average game on its own.
Yeah, that's fair. I might... It's odd. It is an average game, and a lot of those reviewers, some of them were in earnest when they said there's a lot of things in it that aren't really that great.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad Thief game, an average game, but it really has a lot of things to recommend it. It's a complicated release in a lot of different ways, and you can see all the many hands and the many managers and the many, many meetings held about this game behind closed doors for years. It looks like someone did a fair job salvaging a mess of a design, and that's unfortunate because it clearly could have been more. I'll be interested to know a month from now, looking at NPD numbers, exactly how it did. My guess is not well at all.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Brock, before we let you go, you recently reviewed a game for COG. Can you tell us about it?
I did. It was called Weapon Shop. Oh, I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'll just call it Weapon Shop.
That's what I looked it up, and I was like, I'm going to let him say it. And I was like, okay, we'll call it Weapon Shop.
Like that, yeah. And it's on the it's a digital game for the 3DS. It's a rhythm game set in a shop of in a JRPG. Like you sell weapons. You're a weapons shop in a JRPG, and you forge them by sort of playing this little mini game. And it's very weird. I was describing it as kind of like my perfect kind of game because it's just so strange.
Right.
But if you like JRPGs and like to sort of, but don't want to see sort of the other side of the counter. I think I put that in my review. It's fun. It's actually surprisingly long. It took me about 15 hours to beat it. But
what was the name again?
Just call it Weapon Shop. Look up Weapon Shop on 3DS eShop.
3DS. All right.
Yeah, and it's one of those. It's by level 5. It's one of those. There's like a series of little weird experimental games they made. There's Attack of the Tokyo Monsters, and Crimson Shroud, and stuff like that. And this is the last of the batch. So, just came out, and it's neat.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you calling in. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. We'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. Appreciate Spigot calling in on the show. And if you'd like to call in, you can. 334-272-9228 is the number, 334-272-9228. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we've got more in-game chat coming up in just a bit. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. The music you heard going into the break there was from Heavy Rain. The music that you're hearing now
Happy
is
music.
from Fallout 3.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Everybody else in the chat room there, glad you guys have joined us. It's grown a bit. Kurt has joined us. Mott Wackorb. Quiet Hype 2. Leakon is in there. Also, who do we get? Moltal showed up in Medusa's Mirror as well. So thanks, everybody, for joining us in the chat room. So just before the show, I was reminding James that, hey, I'm going to meet you at the station at 4 o'clock, right? He's like, yeah. And then he thanked me because he had let time slip away.
You said that to me at 3. I was...
The last time you had looked at the clock
unshowered, undressed,
right.
Everything. I was still in the state I was in when I rolled out of bed and started playing Diablo 3. And I was, at this time, at 3 p.m., playing Diablo 3.
That's exactly right. And apparently, what am I looking at? Loot 2.0? Is that what they're calling it?
Yes. Loot 2.0 is... we've talked about this.
Yeah.
We've known that this was coming for a very, very long time. Everyone knows at this point, who's been remotely aware of it, that Diablo 3 was about as contentious and anger-making a game release as anyone can actually remember. I mean, it didn't hit any of the same notes, really, that Diablo 2 did. And in much the same way our previous segment conversation about Thief did, it was building on a game that was well-loved from a different era of design. And they made an enormous number of changes. It was always online, running through their authentication servers. There was no offline mode. There was no LAN. There was no trading with your friends. The entire thing was built around an auction house. A little bit like the auction houses that you find in massively multiplayer online games. But this one, in addition to using currency from within the game, also allowed you to use real money, real actual dollars, to purchase things in the game. Blizzard was taking a cut of all of this. We all understood perfectly, cynically, that they were doing this and building the entire system around a trading mechanism that would earn them money. And I imagine it actually did earn them an enormous amount of money.
Yeah.
We have said in the past that although it did many, many things wrong, and it didn't resemble Diablo 2 in any of the right ways, one of the worst things about it is that they seemed to be designing from a point. The original design sprung from the auction house. Loot, how it worked, how it dropped, and how it was distributed was all based around the need to get it moving from one person to another in the auction house. Diablo 2 was fun for a decade.
Yeah.
More than that, it's still fun to this day.
I knew people in 2009 still playing Diablo 2 when I was deployed to Iraq.
I know people who still play it now.
Yeah.
It's
almost
really,
like the
really,
StarCraft.
really good. Yes,
Yeah.
it's really good. It was really well designed. It had a lot of its own problems, but it was well understood and well loved. And at its core, you pick a character, a class, you create a build for that individual who's going to work a certain way, and you run through the game, killing all the same monsters and all the same bosses and going through all the same levels over and over again, searching for cool loot. And there is an immediate feedback loop that is very satisfying in a hack and slash loot-based game. The whole point is to run with a bunch of friends, go on a boss run, kill the boss, hope for good drops, and trying to collect better and better loot. It's a very simple prospect, but it is incredibly fun and incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
It's the basis for raids and MMOs, and needed to be the basis for how Diablo 3 worked, and it didn't. Loot was almost completely useless to you as an individual, and it was mostly broken. The chance for a piece of gear with correct statistics, correct affixes for your character, like if you're a barbarian, you want, like say strength and vitality and such as that. For all of those things to come together on a randomly generated piece of gear was astronomically rare in most cases. And this was all done because there was a certain bandwidth for good gear for the game to produce. And they wanted it all flowing through the auction house. So what you did was you just tried to earn money and then go to the auction house and buy your own gear.
Yeah.
This was the most completely useless way to interact with the game. There was no fun there. There was no feedback loop. It was dramatically bad. So, very long story short, they have continued to update the game over the last couple of years, but they've recognized, not in so many words, but very nearly, that they screwed up. That they screwed up really, really bad. And so they have, in advance of the new expansion pack, which is going to add another 10 levels of progression and another full act of the story. That's coming out March 25th. We have known for a very long time that the auction house and the current loot system was being deprecated and removed from the game. They were switching to an entirely different philosophy. And as per Blizzard's tendencies, mostly established in World of Warcraft, what they do is just prior to the release of the actual content of an expansion, they take all of the new rule sets, they take all of the new programming, all of the new mechanisms, and put those in the game. And then usually you have about a month or two of shakeout time to kind of get used to it, and you're usually overpowered, overexposed, trying to get used to the way that numbers are now built into your gear and your character, and you have a little bit of a free-for-all time before the new content is released.
Right.
That's what we got on Monday, and it was an incredible surprise because it was totally unannounced. It just, basically out of nowhere, they're like, hey, here, have this. And people like me, tens of thousands of people like me, came crawling out of the woodwork because by all reports, hey,
it became the game
remember
you wanted.
what you wanted it to be when it launched? It's that now. Unless you're one of those people that can't stand the fact that it's always online, and fair enough. But the loot system now is in that feedback cycle, that immediate feeling of like seeing something drop and just kind of tensing up, waiting to identify it, waiting to look at it and see how cool it's going to be. That's very much back. They've made some changes to how the loot functions that aren't that great. They've kind of locked down the trading system. You can only trade with people that were there with you when it dropped. You can't create custom games online and just trade any object with any other person. And there are reasons and there are arguments about those reasons. And honestly, that's neither here nor there because it is incredibly fun now.
Lavos just posted a an interview that just a little soundbite from Kevin Martins, I guess from Blizzard. He said you should play the game to get gear to kill the monsters. You shouldn't get gear to kill monsters because you will get bored too quickly. It stole people's reward curve, is essentially what it did. Made it very easy for them to do it. So trading isn't a bad way to get items, but it negates playing the game. Then if it negates playing the game, then we've made a huge mistake. And we did, which is why we're shutting down the auction house.
Right.
So
it is strange psychologically, and you can even know that you are being played psychologically, but it doesn't matter. I don't mind pressing the button for the cheese because I like cheese, and the button's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as the button is engaging and the cheese tastes good, I'm okay with being inside a Skinner box. It's all right. You're not going to enlighten me, you know, person who just now figured out that they're being manipulated psychologically. I pay to be manipulated psychologically. I'm begging for something to do it effectively, and I spend thousands of dollars a year in pursuit of successful psychological manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly right. They got the chase backward. I want to kill that boss. I want to run to that boss. I want to get to that boss, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to wait, and when I kill him and he just explodes like a loot piñata, I'm looking for those pretty colors, and it feels good. It has always felt good. It is the reason to play it, and they have actually managed to put that back in. And the gameplay was always fairly solid. There are some people who didn't like the way that the skill categories were designed. I was never amongst them. I understand not liking the fact that it is always online, but I temper that by knowing how very, very good it is at getting me with my friends. How easy it is, if any of them would ever log on, to play with my friends that quick. To be right there with my buddies with a minimum of fuss, you know? And again, coming from a guy from way back then, there was no such thing as playing with your friends with a minimum of fuss.
Yeah,
There
you had to be a coordinated effort.
The fuss was always at a maximum. Always. Always, always. There were hordes of enemies standing between you and successfully connecting to your friend's game. When we complain about people not remembering things correctly in the past, that's one of those things. And, okay, the game going offline anytime they have to patch it and anytime they want to run updates or anytime there's a server issue, that's not great. But I got to tell you, the fact that I can go click and I'm standing right next to my friend in his game, I would have traded anything for that if you had offered it to me as an option in 1999. I would have. I had friends tearing things out of their computer. I had friends ripping their hair out over IRQ conflicts.
Everybody but one person can connect to each other, so we had to let him host it.
Yeah,
and
it was just...
and
Diablo was never all that bad, but it's just...
It has been for other games.
It's just so lovely to not have to worry about that sort of stuff anymore. The future in that respect is actually really wonderful. And that was never the chief issue with Diablo 3. If this stuff had happened, if there had been no auction house, even with these really restrictive trading rules, if there were no auction house, but the loot system worked the way it does currently, and it had been online, this would have been an entirely different discussion 2 years ago when the game launched. Entirely different. So... for what it is worth, it is absolutely the game it should have been when it launched. It is not perfect. And there are traces of the fact that it is fixed, not designed from the ground up like this. But I have never seen a cancer so successfully cut out of a game's body before. I really haven't. And I've played it nonstop all this week. I would be much, much further along in Thief if this had not happened.
If that had not happened, exactly.
And that's nothing against Thief, but it is merely fun now.
Leakon says the expansion also adds random levels.
Yes, it does. It does. It's an adventure system that adds in an aspect of randomization, which is something that 2
the original
had, but that 3 has in much more limited quantities. 3 has 3D maps and 3D areas. And so the general shape of, you know, the fields or the forests or something like that, and the general shape and layout, the borders, say, of an exterior area are fixed. They're always going to be shaped like that.
Oh, okay.
The dungeon locations individually within that can be randomized, will be randomized. But in general, you always know that the area entrance is like here in the south, and the exit's going to be in this spot in the north, and that's how it's going to be. So it lacked that seeking, searching, cartographical high that you got trying to find, spreading out as a group of people in Diablo on your own, taking that risk so that you could find the entrances quicker. So they're adding that as well. They're adding 10 more levels. The Paragon system, which is the post level cap progression system, is rewarding and has been overhauled. It's something they added, I guess, about a year ago. The difficulty system has been completely removed as well. That was one of the major disagreements. You had to progress through the game, through every difficulty. You had to beat the game like 5 times.
Right.
Before you could get,
just to get the night. Yeah.
That's no longer the case. You can set it on whatever you well please, except for the absolute maximum of torment.
Yes.
Then what you can do is you can select torment, and you can change a little slider through 6 individual levels of like granular difficulty that are each met with increased rewards. Look at this. 2 games coming out essentially at the same time that allow you to massively customize your personal experience, and what do you know? It works.
It actually works.
Works fantastically.
We should have more like that, obviously.
Yeah.
The console versions, they never had an auction house.
No, the console versions were now for, when did they come out? Last summer? They have, for all of that time, been the superior version.
Right.
Because they had very specific controls, local, same screen co-op, and absolutely no online functionality whatsoever, and something resembling the current loot system. So I don't think it is an unmitigated success, I suppose. There's still a lot of people making legitimate complaints about it. However,
they have definitely fixed it from what it was.
It's okay. It's super fun. It's really super fun and super rewarding. And if anyone out there...
The fact that you were playing that today and not Thief, because I really thought you would have just dove into that.
I had planned to.
You're like, I'll do a little bit of this, and then I'll jump into Thief, and a little bit turned.
And they have overhauled the skills. They have changed a lot of the builds. Things are a lot more fun and a lot more feasible. And because at any particular point in time you can be choosing a different difficulty, many more builds of these characters are feasible. Something that may or may not matter to you, but in an RPG like this, when you're min-maxing, you're trying to make the best possible build decisions for a certain scenario. When that scenario is already laid out in front of you and is concrete, a certain build, a certain combination of skills becomes the really only way to do it. And that's just the math. But when you can customize things a little bit more, you are free to therefore customize your skills and your build and everything. And it just feels good to have that freedom and to play around with it without being penalized. So we'll see. But I tell you what, I was hemming and hawing about the expansion pack for March. I was like, I don't know. March is kind of a time when there seem to be a number of things coming out.
Quite
a few,
number
of platforms.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been sold. Tuesday I was sold.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody out there who was maybe on the fence before or hasn't picked the game up since 2 months after launch, like I did, fully recommended.
And I'm pretty much in that same boat as well.
I would love it if you guys would pick it back up.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I would be very, very happy if you would. It is incredibly fun to play right now.
I have to
Lavos,
reload it.
Lavos is asking if the PS4, are we getting PS4 and Xbox One versions of Diablo 3? I thought we
were.
Yes,
PS4 should be coming out this year. Xbox 360.
Probably summer, and you will get a straight Reaper of Souls expansion packed version of it. So the guess is probably this summer. And that will follow the design more of the older consoles. 4-player, based around the quick dash mechanic of the controller, local co-op, loot system that's already in place on the PS3 and the Xbox. So,
just one more thing to
I was thinking
divide my time against.
Yeah, I was thinking of waiting for that, but I'm happy enough and impressed enough with what they've done on the PC version that I'll go there.
Okay.
I will absolutely go there. And I know...
What are they selling the expansion for?
It's probably 40.
40?
That's a pretty consistent expansion pricing scheme for Blizzard. And they're not the same game, Diablo 3 and World of Warcraft, but the way the Blizzard does business is usually consistent across its across its different properties.
Well, even with StarCraft 2, that had an expansion.
They approached that a little bit differently. They weren't really talking about it as an expansion. They were trying to sell the idea that it was 3 individual campaign.
But the pricing
games.
was, I think, still the same.
Was it 40? Did they
believe.
not release it as at 60? I don't know.
Shows you how much you stuck with that one too. It's
Yeah, I
just
know.
like,
That was more my fault of trying to be interested in something that I'm
You know
not
what?
built for.
That was exactly my fault too. I just built the PC that I had, and I had nothing. I was like, I want to go. I got to put some games on it. And, you know, I had Steam and everything else, but I didn't have anything that was really new to get out there. And so, you know, I picked up StarCraft too, and ran it for a little bit, and
Other things came out.
no, I
No,
just
you realize like, oh, I hate StarCraft. That's what it is.
that's really what had happened. Was
Yeah.
like, I don't like this. Not at
Yeah.
all. Not at all.
Diablo, though, is a much more.
Yeah.
It's a much different type of experience, and it is absolutely at its best when it is. There are, at its essence, it is what you're kind of doing when you run dungeons together in an MMO or something. It is one of the best expressions of cooperative gameplay. Everybody can go around and punch things and zap things and shoot things and destroy things together, and then loot drops and you all feel really good about it, but it's not so intense that, you know, beads of sweat popping out on your forehead and like it's not fun, you know, with all of the option and all of the availability to essentially just click for loot. It's really, really good. So I would very much like it if everybody I know who owns a copy loads it back up, and who doesn't own a copy,
Get
you
one.
know, finds a little bit of dough.
And let us
when it
know.
goes
You know, there's tons of ways that you can get. You can add us to your friends list and stuff. We have a Steam group on Steam that you can go to, and you can find all of us who are a part of that. But I'll post a link in the chat room if you're out there now. And I'll also do a tweet later on. But there's a thread on COG in our forums that has all of our stuff where you can get in touch with us to find out how to, you know, all of our names across all of the platforms, so you can find out how to game with us and join us in playing some Diablo 3.
We're bad at pretty much everything. So if you're super amazing at something and can't stand that, steer clear of us because we're horrible. If you're also horrible like us, we're non-judgmental. And welcome aboard.
Exactly.
And we try not to kill each other.
No, that's us. That is not you. That has never, ever been you.
Have you, other than Thief, have you played anything else, Matt?
No, that's been it. Just
Yeah.
playing at work.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's fine. RJ, anything for you other than training for this tournament, which I want to go into a little bit later
Yes.
on,
Oh,
talk
okay.
to about.
Haven't really playing much. But I did finally break down and buy my own 360.
What?
What?
Wait, what? Hold on.
Bought a 360.
Yeah, you can't give us that look. You know, you cannot
Yeah.
do that.
Why is this?
I am sorry, but you cannot give us that look,
Okay.
and you know why. We have been on this for a long time.
What?
Yeah.
I think everybody is
Did
just
you
like.
do it because you sensed we gave up?
No.
Or did you do it because you've got games that?
It was basically because, well, first two things happened. One, Uncle Sam gave me some money back.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Two,
Uncle Sam.
I got a bonus at work.
Okay.
So two things came together in the same week, and it got pretty old trying to go from point A to point B elsewhere, trying to play Street Fighter on the
Because some of the
360.
games for this
Yeah,
tournament
yeah.
that
Some
you
of the
have
games
to
are on
play.
360. So
Right.
in the end, I just thought about, it's just better. Like I said along, it's just better to get my own.
Yeah,
So I
no,
found them
I
out
understand
there
that
and-
perfectly.
Yeah, so I went out and found one and picked it up and started setting it up. So now I have a 360.
Do you have a live account?
Yeah, apparently I had a live account since I played Dark Souls on Steam.
Oh, of course, yeah,
So,
because it
yeah.
Oh, that's
because
right.
it originally
So I
had
didn't-
games for Windows
yeah.
Live.
Yeah, so now I've had an account, just didn't know about it until I started setting up my 360. So yeah, now
Hey,
now I have a live
fantastic.
account. So that's what I've been focusing on, that and training for the tournament.
There's your megaton for the week, folks.
I know. I like how you just casually dropped that too.
It's
I like more the way he looked at us like we were ridiculous for our jaws dropping.
I had to look
See,
at
all this silently, he's been looking forward to that response for some time now.
I had to look at my calendar and make sure it went April 1st, not March
Not March 1st.
1st.
what's your gamer tag? Well, you don't have a gold account. You just have a live account, correct?
No, I have a gold account.
You have gold?
Yeah,
Oh, gee, this gets better.
Yeah. What's your name? What's your gamer tag?
it's same as PSN. ARJ9975. That's me.
All right.
ARJAY
ARJAY 9975.
9975. Okay, well, there you go.
If you don't believe us or him.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that tournament that you've got going
Yeah,
on because it's
yeah.
just a couple more weeks away. Did you get any details on your schedule and stuff? If you
we've
did,
got I've got it. Yeah, I got a.
you got it. Okay,
There's one game they've certified for play. They
Okay.
put the details out on it.
we'll go over some of that a little bit later on in the show. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll have the second hour of in-game chat. As we leave you here, we have music from Advent Rising. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Music from Oblivion. Second hour of the show. And before we took the break, heard the big news there that RJ got himself a 360. And you got this mainly for the fact that obviously a couple of things fell into place for you financial-wise to go ahead and do that. But mainly for the fact that you do a lot of fighting tournaments, or you do a lot of fighting games, and you've done some fighting tournaments. But when they come up, and this is something I never really thought about until you mentioned it, but obviously unless the game is exclusive to a particular system, it is, I guess, up to the event coordinators as to which...
Whatever system's readily available at the time, or tournament people who participate in the tournament, their preferences. A lot of people wanted Street Fighter on the 360 for the longest time because I was told that there was a frame advantage on the 360. It's smooth. It doesn't lag as much. It's more precise, I guess. And in fighting game, precision is pretty key.
Very much so.
So a lot of folks wanted it on the 360. So I've been playing on the PS3 all this time, and now that I've confirmed that it was on the 360, I figured it may as well start practicing on it and get my own, start playing it.
So, but before then, what, you'd been going over to a friend's place or
Yeah,
somewhere?
going to a friend's place or going to our local places that had it set up, and I just started playing it there. So that was the only 360 I had available to me. So
Yeah.
so in the end, just get my own.
Couldn't
Now
get
that
your,
it's available.
yeah, you couldn't get your training in, I suppose.
Yeah,
but,
well, yeah, training on a PS3, but if it's not on the system that you're playing on,
Right.
kind of.
It's a big deal because you've got to conform to the controller.
Or if I got get your own stick for it.
Or that way also works.
Mm-hmm.
But if your stick isn't compatible with the stick they have for the system they have,
Yeah,
then-
you can get your own stick or just play with the pad or whatever.
yeah. So that is coming up on the it's not this coming week, but what, week after next?
Yeah, March 14th to the 16th, so weekend after next. Yeah.
All right, we finally got some details as to what's
We got,
going on.
The schedules for the main tournaments haven't been out yet, but I did sign up for the Virtua Fighter 5 Showdown tournament they're going to have there, and that's going to be on Friday, March 14th at noon, and they're going to be streaming that on Twitch TV. So they're going to start playing that. So we'll be seeing all.
Is that noon? That's noon.
Noon their time. So
noon Eastern.
Yeah, noon Eastern. So
noon
11
Eastern
o'clock
time.
Our time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're not doing that until you'll have one more show with us before you go.
Yeah.
And would love you to bring the guys in who are going to be doing this thing, so we can talk to them more about tournament play and that sort of thing. And of course, you can give us more details about what games you're going to be playing, when they're going to be on. Or obviously, if they're streaming that one, they're going to be streaming a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they will stream a lot of stuff
for Twitch, and then everybody can hopefully get a chance to watch you compete, and hopefully get a chance to watch you win.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, yeah, I know it's none of us go out and do these tournament things. So, I mean, the best I got is when we go to PAX, and every now and again they'll do a tournament of something, and unless it falls in my wheelhouse, which is a very tiny wheelhouse, which is not normally anything they conform with, I don't get to participate. But it's really cool that you do this. So that's final round, and it's taking place in Atlanta, right?
Right. Final round 17 in Atlanta.
All right. Well, that's great, man. I'm really excited to hear more about it, and if it's within your means, maybe you can call in while you're out there and kind of give us a report.
If I can call in, I will.
And let us know. So, Lecon missed it. Which tourney is in the match? I'm not exactly sure what his question is. We're talking about final round.
Yeah, final round in Atlanta. Yeah.
And the game you signed up for was Virtua Fighter 5.
Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown. That's going to be the first one I'll be playing in. That's a Friday morning for them. What
are you playing? Is that on a? What are they playing that on?
They're playing that on the PS3.
The PS3. Okay. I'm so Virtua Fighter, so Sega Dreamcast type situation that So, anyway, that's great. As for me, I have last week I played. I did Silverwall Sundays. Played the brand new tables for Pinball Effects, which are the soccer.
Yes, how'd that
tables? That went okay. I didn't know the terminology of what was going on. As far as like the commentators, they have commentators. And I love playing tables blind. I love going in there completely unaware of how a table works. I like to figure it out as I play. I don't know why. It just seems to work better for me that way, to learn how the table plays as I go rather than watch a video of it or see somebody else play it and learn what the objectives are.
Well, that way you don't have any expectations. It's just, it's just you.
That's exactly right for some of those other tables, for those Marvel tables. But when you throw a table at me that is based off soccer,
now is it too
automatically I have really almost no interest in it. It's based on a sport, and sport. Look at me, sport. No.
Is it too much to hope that the pinball itself was a soccer ball? Was it?
It is. Yeah.
It is a soccer ball.
Yeah, they're soccer balls.
Nice.
They clink like pinballs.
Okay, but they look like a soccer
ball. So when you
ball?
do multi-ball, they hit together and make sounds like they were steel. But no, they're soccer balls.
So not like a metal with soccer paint. It's a literal ball, soccer ball.
I guess like I said, the sound that it makes when two of those balls hit
is the normal sound.
Is the normal sound you would hear if two pinballs hit each other. They just have the paint scheme of soccer balls.
Okay.
So that's a cute little thing. But you get 3 balls to start with, just like you do any other pinball table.
Right.
However, you play regulations. You play. It's got a counter that's like 45 minutes, but it's not 45 minutes per.
Half.
Half, exactly. Good job, RJ. I'm glad you're with us. So it's not exactly 45 minutes per half, but you play for a half, then there's halftime, and then you play the second half. If all 3 balls, or if all of your ball, whatever the case, if you still got a ball surviving that game, you move on to week 2, and then play through that. You play until you lose all 3 balls, just like any other table. So you may not even make it out of the first half before you've lost. Very tough for me to get the high score on this playthrough that I was doing. Real tough. But eventually I had to learn what was going on. As you play, every now and again, you'll hear the commentators say that they're on the attack, which means this gives you a chance to shoot it up the left ramp or the right ramp. And once you get it up there, it goes into a secondary field that has 2 flippers at the bottom and a goalpost at the top.
Okay.
Very much smaller field, but secondary field. And then you have to get it past some defenders, very foosball-like, but you have to get it past some defenders and then the goalie. You get it in, you score. So before you get to that point, you have to keep the ball in play. In other words, as long as you're hitting ramps, knocking targets, that sort of thing, you have control of the ball.
Okay.
You build that up enough, then you get a chance to make an attack. If that meter runs down and your ball's not doing anything, and it can do that, it can just hit nothing for a while. You can try it, you'll miss a ramp, and it comes back down, and it'll just kind of linger out there in the middle of the field, not doing anything because you can't hit some of those ramps. As that meter goes down, then you'll get a warning that they're making their attack, and you have to shoot all the lanes that are lit. Clear those, ball's back in your possession. Don't clear them, then they automatically score on you. So there you go. That's how it kind of plays out. A lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was just, obviously, it was kind of difficult to get into because I'm not familiar with the sport that they're trying to replicate there.
But for as far as like a different kind of game style and gameplay, I mean, I'm assuming this is drastically different than a normal pinball, table, because what you said, like with the rules of how the ball has to be in play, and you have that offensive and defensive. What'd you think of all that? Was that like an interesting addition to the playing style?
It is a little different, but it still plays out basically like pinball, though.
Okay.
I mean, you still have ramps to hit and objectives to make.
All right.
It's not. There's a lot of things that there's a lot of tables that they've got for pinball effects. If I'm familiar with the property that they're basing it off of, comic books, Star Wars, for instance, I usually can enjoy myself more just for the fact that I kind of know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It has that sense of familiarity.
It does. Yeah. And anybody who enjoys soccer is probably going to eat this thing up. They probably enjoy soccer and pinball. Is going to love this. I think they'll have a great time with it. But anybody who is not interested or doesn't have that kind of interest in that sport, they may come away enjoying it, but will not spend very long on it.
Right. Okay.
For me, it got to the point where it's like, I got to beat this guy's high score. I just wanted to get to the top of my friends list. Once I did that, it was done. It took me a good almost 90 minutes to get there, which is very long for that to happen for me. Normally, it's about 30 or 45 minutes to get me there, but another 90 minutes or so is how long it took me to get to the high score on that. It's not usually what I have to go through. It's very tough to make that happen. But like I said, if you're in a familiar area, Star Wars, Marvel Comics, even some of the Marvel Comics tables I play, I'm not familiar with the character that they're representing. I still haven't touched Moon Knight. I'm not familiar with that character. I think there's another one on there that I'm also just... I played Doctor Strange. I didn't really understand what was going on there. I'm not familiar with that character.
A bunch of magic and stuff, right?
Although I imagine, like the conversation we had in the parking lot after the show last week, I'm sure when that movie comes out, everybody will be...
Yeah, right. Give Marvel Studios another 2 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll know everything. I'll know what's going on in that table. I'll be like, I know who you are. Now I understand the point of all this. So, yeah. But, which makes me think, hey, Guardians of the Galaxy table, that'll be fun to play if they ever get around to that. I know they have that contract with Marvel to do a lot of stuff. So, anyway, there's my thoughts on the game I played. So, that is the only game I have touched all week. I accidentally started Zoo Tycoon by trying to tell my Xbox One to resume TV. So that would be the only other thing that I may have played.
TV?
Yeah?
Resume?
I guess. Probably.
I
Yeah.
was thinking, how do you get from Zoo Tycoon to TV?
Because it's Connect. You can tell it. I tell it to go to messages, and it's like, I can't play that track. I didn't say play a track. I just wanted you to go to my messages, which I did sign up for their little beta thing. For the Xbox One, they have a to beta test
beta channel for the upcoming changes.
Yeah, for the upcoming changes that they're adding in. Which we're getting streaming on the Xbox One finally.
Man,
Yay.
how much have
They've
Major
been
Nelson's Little Elves been working away to get everything up to feature parity before Titanfall comes out?
Yeah, exactly.
Because since launch, you've been able to go to Twitch's main page, and there's an entire block of things dedicated to what's on the PS4 right now. These are the top channels and streams on the PS4, the PS4, 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 PS4.
Even still, here's the Titanfall streams from PC.
Straight
Did we
off.
mention
It's just
PS4?
all off the piece. I mean, you can still stream your Xbox One if you're one of the people that has
The special
a special
yeah.
setup, but no, man, if you want really
Not out of the box.
yeah, if you just want that stuff plastered all over, then you got to get it in the box. So I mean, good. That's fine. No problem there.
Yeah. Although, if I am to get it, I'm going to be picking it up on PC though. So, are you still?
Pick what up?
Titanfall.
God,
Titanfall.
no.
What's your next?
No, I'm sorry, man. Not for nothing, but going back to the last hour, being able to have some more confidence in the Diablo 3 expansion means that I'll be putting an awful lot more time into that, both after it releases and between now and then. I am... Man, where are we at right now?
We're at a month that's getting packed with things that I totally forgot. Like Thief, of course. You know, you and I talked afterwards. Thief completely sneaked up on me.
Right.
I didn't even have it in my GameFly queue. I totally had forgotten until we talked about it on the show.
Thief sneaked up on me.
Didn't it? You could tell I was completely sincere. Wasn't even actually trying to make that. But yeah, so it did. We've got Titanfall this month. Infamous Second Son this month. Diablo 3 expansion this month.
That's real big. Infamous Second Son is
huge.
It and Titanfall could not be less alike, except for the job they each have. And I think maybe there's more pressure on Infamous because the game looks good.
It does.
But there's no real shock, no real surprise to how it's going to play. We've all played Infamous, or, it's generally and averagely kind of speaking, the world has played Infamous.
We have an idea.
But it looks fantastic. And I really want it to be great, and everyone really wants it to be great. And it looks like it's going to be the first thing to do the PS4 real justice. It's going to be its first game to show off what the system has to offer.
As I understand, it's the first in-house studio game.
It's the first in-house studio, first platform exclusive AAA big monster thing.
And honestly, I think it's a good one to start off with.
I think that it is good. I think that Infamous actually doesn't carry quite as much weight as other franchises, but
I think letting this one come out the gate first, it gives the other franchises some chance to redevelop and or just build theirs up even more so.
It gives this one time to stand on its own, is what it does.
True.
And if it's worth it, then yeah. I don't know that it'll sell systems, but I'm just super anxious to see something do what it's going to do. So that's a big deal. Yes, I know.
Leakon in the chat was like,
I know.
Guys, wait a second.
However,
Dark Souls 2.
I don't play ugly video games on the old systems, so I'm not playing Dark Souls 2 this month. There is a rumor that I could see it in April. That it's been going around for the last 48 hours or so, that the PC version, with a proper amount of support for the PC version this time coming directly from the developers.
Everybody else in the chat room got you on that Cavalier and Sandwich. We're always like, they're waiting on the PC.
Yeah.
With exception of RJ, I think. You're going...
I'm going PS4.
Yeah.
Not 3. PS3.
Oh.
Well,
you didn't buy a PS4 with that money,
That's another thing. If it was on newer consoles, I would bite immediately, but it isn't. So I have to wait for the PC. I can't. It was hideous. Dark Souls was just hideous on the consoles, and I couldn't. For my eyes, I couldn't.
RJ, you don't want to pick it up for the 360?
No, I already got I had a reserve for the PS3 well before I decided to buy the.
I was saying, give you something else to play on the system.
Look, man, we know him. He's
no, but I mean, without it, no, he's not even being difficult. He's got a history of the two previous games on that system.
He knows the controllers.
It's all exactly what it should be. And again, if it was coming out on the PS4,
right,
that would be great. And there is even the possibility that if it were coming out much, much later on the PC, that I would play an ugly game on an old system. But like I said, the rumor at the moment is we'll have to wait a month. And that's not so bad, particularly since we'll be skipping over March, which is already filled with other things.
And particularly, yeah, exactly,
anyway,
since you'll be busy,
doing other things. There's loads of other stuff. I mean, I really think there are other things we're forgetting. I can't do Titanfall. I can't. I really want to play it, but they are asking too much for a game that I don't think has much to recommend it. Talked about it last week. It's fine.
Yeah.
I have no real problem with the game. I don't hate the game. They're asking a lot.
South Park game gets released this week.
Stick of Truth.
South Park.
Yes.
And Metal Gear Solid also.
Yeah,
that's the other one. That's one of the other ones.
Got a price cut.
I got a sort of price cut.
Sort of. Yeah.
The retail.
I got to put an asterisk by that.
The retail tax for the next-gen version, on both versions, the retail tax was eliminated. So it's the same.
Oh.
It's a price parity with. Is it on both? I don't know. I was only ever thinking about the PS4, and I know that the
retail copies for PS4 and Xbox One dropped to $30, which match the digital price now.
Which is a little bit of a shame, because I still think there's still too much. We don't know about it. All of the rumors and all of the reporting about how long the gameplay actually is and what it has to offer still puts it in the realm of maybe being kind of questionable for $30. I don't know. Does anybody else have a feeling one way or the other?
You know, I'm gonna pick it up.
What are you doing there? Are you doing digital?
You know, with it being dropped down to that price,
There's $30 for both. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be worth it for me to pick up the physical copy. That way, after I do it and everything, pass it on to you.
Oh, okay. Sure.
He has no problem with that plan.
That doesn't bother
You
me in the
know?
least. Well, yeah, 'cause
Exactly.
you're gonna go away
Because I'm not gonna be able to take it
You're
with
gonna be-
me. So
Hey,
That's great. Good. So I'll pick it up.
we
from
need
you,
to
like
get. Here's what we need to do.
What?
Steam family sharing with this guy
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, so you guys could play my library.
while you're gone.
Yeah,
Are you going to be able? Are you where you're going? Are you going to be able to play it all?
I'm taking my laptop with me.
Yeah.
And I'll have my.
Although, given the time differences between us here and you over
Yes.
there, it'll work out pretty well.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be working long days, but I mean, I should have a chance to actually log into the internet. Hopefully, I cross my fingers. But if nothing else, I'll just play offline mode. So
Yeah. That's something. That's something
to think
we
about.
should do. Yeah, family sharing is exactly what we should get with you on that.
Definitely.
So yeah,
No, I'm sorry, but you going back. You said you're picking up Titanfall. You're getting that on PC.
I said if I get it, I get it on PC. I'm still on the
don't
fence
buy
if I'm going to get
Titanfall,
it.
Scott.
Why?
Don't look, man. You are not bloody minded enough to be picking up a game like that. You do this every time. I'm trying to be your friend right now. You do this every time. Every time there has been a hype extravaganza about some kind of multiplayer thing, you were there because everybody's talking about it, and I get it. I do it too. I want to be there in the multiplayer thing. The thing is, you don't actually like those kind of multiplayer games. You don't, because you don't ever play them. You are not laser-focused, bloody-minded, first-person shooter competition style guy. You didn't come up that route.
No.
And you don't it's just not there. You've done it a little bit somewhat on the consoles, but it's just not what you and your brain want to do when you sit in front of your computer screen. And it never has been. And we've been down this road on every one of these things. And I'm not saying you can't have it. I'm not even saying it's a bad purchase.
Yeah.
I'm still sort of on the fence about it. I'm just mostly thinking about how much they're asking for it.
Right.
Versus what I think I'm $70.
Yeah.
Versus what I think I'm going to get out of it.
See, that's where I'm sitting on the.
But
Yeah.
you will get way less out of it than I would ever get out of a purchase because you don't like those kinds of games. You buy them all the time, but you don't really like playing them. Because what happens is that what happens with any given person, particularly a PC gamer, is that you sit down in front of that box, a handcrafted box, in your very comfortable office-style, desk-style thing. And whatever you may have brought with you before you sit down, in terms of what I'm going to do and what I'm going to play, and this idea I have in my head about the clearance of my list, or what icon I'm going to click on and what I'm going to launch and what it's going to give me, it's not what happens when you sit down. It's why 80% of the time I open up all the tabs in my browser on the right screen, I load up something from Netflix or Amazon or Hulu, and I launch WoW or I launch Diablo, because that's my relationship. That's where I'm really, really at. You have never been a hunched forward, aggressive, snarling, fast reaction time, nothing but a lizard brain, 2 hands, a mouse, and a keyboard, kill guys online type of guy. So you'll spend the money, you'll never get anything out of it.
I don't know that I'll spend the money. I mean, like I said,
If you buy it, you'll spend the money.
Obviously, if I buy it, I'll spend the
My point
money.
is talking you out of the purchase, because right now you're living in the idea of how great it is to buy something that everybody else is doing. This is the same reason that we buy stuff like StarCraft. You know,
Yeah.
I did the same thing. I was like, oh, this is great. It looks great, and everybody's doing it and talking about it, and it's wonderful. And I get in there, and I'm like, oh, well, this is just StarCraft. Why did I think anything different? You know?
Yeah, and so I don't know. I remember what we did when we got in the beta, and this was on the console, not PC. So there could be a difference there if you want to categorize that. But when the Modern Warfare beta,
Yeah, I remember that.
and that's all, man, those 3 maps and just went over and over and over and over. And then
Right.
even when the game released, I got the game, but I only played multiplayer. I never touched the single player of that game until 2 released.
Yeah.
When I was like, let me catch up with the story, and I played both of them in one sitting. But I love that. Did not love the multiplayers that followed any of that. And I kind of got that feeling when I was playing Titanfall again of that, oh, this is great. I want to sit down and just keep playing this over and over again. I kind of had that feeling.
Yeah, I don't. You're also playing a beta. You're playing
Right,
a level limited, unlock limited, 2 maps.
2 maps.
Essentially 1 game mode, because that's where almost everybody
went.
That's
Yeah.
not what you're going to get when it comes out. You're going to get the level up, unlock chase again. You're going to get the map rotation weirdness again. You're going to get a lot of people that are dropping off out of the friends list. So, and this is the other problem you have. You are not quite as comfortable playing with people you don't know.
Yeah, it's very true.
And so when you're in group of people, right, and this happens with any multiplayer thing, when your in group starts to drift away, your relationship with the game changes as well.
Completely.
I have never had any problem shooting and being shot by random people in online video games.
Yeah, and I think we may not have said this on air. We may have said it off air, but my friends list wasn't very populated during that beta. Either side, by the way,
Yeah.
Xbox One or PC. And looking at that friends list on PC, 9 times out of 10 made the determination as if I clicked the icon to load it
See,
up.
not for me.
Yeah.
I've again, having come up a different route, having come to the place we are currently with gaming here, 2014, we came different routes to get to this place. And I came from a place of connecting anonymously to some IP address I found online that someone swore was a really great Quake server, you know? And that's how it went. And so your entire relationship with people early on wasn't through friends lists. Like you had to be out there with whoever. And it was kind of a long time before that stuff evolved. Now only playing with friends, it becomes kind of impossible.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, you spend it however you want to spend it. I'm just telling you buy the game, you won't play it. You won't play it. You'll spend minutes with it, maybe a couple hours, then you'll be done.
Part of me wants to defy him and do it anyway, and then
Go
part of me is
ahead,
like,
by all means,
It's your
do.
money.
part of me is like, I don't want to spend $70 to defy.
Nobody does. Nobody wants to spend.
Yes.
No one wants to
that
spend
price
$70.
is too high to pay.
Even bigger than the bomb I dropped is the one you just laid on us. That's a good one.
70
Bucks.
Dollars.
freaking dollars.
Simoleons.
That's how many of them.
Cheddar.
Chips, biscuits.
We're going to take a break.
Yes.
And when we come back, we can give the thing time to reload. When we come back, we'll have more of In-Game Chat. We'll have our final segment of In-Game Chat. If you want to get in touch with us, 334-272-9228 is the number, 334-272-9228. We'll be back with more of In-Game Chat in just a moment. Here's music from Kingdom Hearts 2. This is called The 13th Struggle. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Music there from Silent Hill. It's the final segment of the show here. Got about 20 minutes or so. You want to get in on the show before we go?
So wait a minute. Hold on.
What?
You can get Titanfall for free with...
You can.
An Xbox One.
Yeah.
With an Xbox One. There is the Xbox One Titanfall bundle.
Where the box itself is the same.
The console is the
Yeah,
same.
the console.
Box,
Yeah,
the
that's what I
box
meant.
is actually prettied up, but the
The
console
Xbox,
itself
yes,
is the same.
Just
And you get a copy of Titanfall, and the price does not change.
Jump.
Not in the league.
Still $500. You get the machine and you get the game.
That's...
suspicious.
I'm suspicious. Well, I mean, whatever. They could do whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's all their dough.
But that says something to you, doesn't it?
It does say something to me. It says to me, we will, by hook or by crook, report phenomenal numbers of...
Did you not? When
Play games
I
with
want to say
Titanfall.
it was last week, and it may not have been, but I want to say it was when we had somebody call in talking about Microsoft and Sony and that sort of thing, and you were talking about how very forceful Microsoft is to make their things happen type situation.
They have a goal. They have a bottom line,
Yeah.
and they will smash their way through anything to get to that
To
thing.
get to that, yeah.
They identify success as like a numerical value for something, and they will go there. However, they have to do it, and that's always been a part of their corporate culture. So I don't know what to say about it. I think it's a perfectly fine game, but millions of words have been written about how the hype just doesn't match what's actually there. It is merely, I guess, a good game, but it is not this thing, and it's just certainly great. If you're on the fence about it, by all means, hey, look, I was on the fence about an Xbox. Now I can get something that I kind of wanted for a pack-in. For a consumer, nothing wrong with that.
No.
There's not one thing about this that looks wrong. But I just want it to stop. I want the Titanfall conversation to evolve more into something about a game and less about an idea.
And a hype.
And that's what I'm saying. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a very great idea, and it's not a very interesting conversation, but it's sort of in the air supply, and I would very much like for it to come and go.
Well, doesn't that happen with most highly anticipated games, I suppose, with the majority of the public, highly anticipated games before they're released?
What?
That there's just talk.
Well,
I mean, good Lord, we had a conversation last week when the caller chimed in about what Microsoft is going to do to, speculating way out in the future of something.
yeah, it's interesting to think about talking about these things, and as always, we kind of look back a long ways, and this conversation didn't used to be possible. Talking about games like this, it wasn't possible.
No.
You could sit around a group of people and talk about it, but the internet didn't really facilitate the conversation. Developers and publishers and producers of games did not talk to people, to human beings. They were behind an iron wall. They were so far away they may as well have not existed in terms of being a part of the message, being a part of the PR.
It was magazines, and for me, you guys obviously different, but for me it was magazines and then just a rumor in the schoolyard, man.
Or if
Somebody
you're
heard
lucky
something
enough to
about
know
something.
someone to go to E3 or maybe one of the trade shows.
Nah, I didn't even have that.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, no, I didn't have any of that. I had Nintendo Power, EGM, and then GamePro. It looks really stupid because all their covers were cartoon specific. It was all hand drawn cartoon and looked kind of crappy at the time. But those were the magazines that I had at the time, and then just the random rumor that we'd hear floating around at school,
Yeah.
from either somebody that possibly walked into a GameStop because I couldn't drive at the time, possibly walked into a GameStop and saw, here's a pre-order thing, or here's a trailer video that's been playing on VHS, by the way, that has been on loop.
Yeah.
So those were my ways of knowing when things were happening or how good things might be. But for you guys, obviously, maybe different.
No, I mean
That was roughly the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Your sources of information were really limited, and your platforms for discussion, your arenas for discussion were really limited as well. And all of that stuff has changed along with the budgets and along with the risk and along with the number of people. And it's $100 billion a year industry, $100 billion a year in revenue. It's nothing like what we thought it was going to be like. It's nothing like what it was. And so talking about it has become something entirely different. And I don't relate to the conversations well. I relate to this well. I relate to this group of people in this room quite well. I relate to the people in the chat room. I believe I can relate generally to the people who listen to the show, even if we disagree, which is actually quite good and healthy, and I don't mind in the least. But there's a ferocity, you know? There's an aggression. There's a sense or an idea that all of these conversations, the mere act of talking about games and expressing your thoughts or opinions, puts your skin in the game somehow, you know, puts something about you at stake, as if your rep, as if your worth or value as a faceless line of text on the internet or something is tied directly to any particular game or your belief in its success or anything like that. And it doesn't really ring true with me. It doesn't make sense to me. I love a deep dive. I mean, come on, anybody who listens to this show, anybody who's tuned in right now, you're going to understand what we're about. I definitely like the conversation, but it's less like conversation anymore than it feels like cheerleading. Or it feels like, if not that, maybe that's unfair. It feels like competitive debate, right? Like you have a point, you have a position that you defend, and no matter where the debate goes, it's your job to defend the position. It's not your job. Well, it's a job. People treat it like a job.
Yeah. It's
odd. And if we step back from the conversation itself, we push ourselves away from it. And this is largely related to things that aren't out yet.
Almost always.
Right. Yeah. We are all doing speculative labor in favor of the advertisers and in favor of the developers. And I think it's a great high. And I think it leaves you with a really bad feeling afterward. Maybe the sense that there's a lot you have to defend. And I don't know. It doesn't feel quite a lot like a conversation. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons, that sense, that feeling is kind of out there in the zeitgeist around Titanfall. And it's why a lot of people are really just frustrated about it. And you're taking a lot of maybe your anger and discomfort about, you know, I feel like crap about the conversation, and so I'm going to take that out on the game because it's kind of centered around the game. The game itself is merely what I think is probably going to be a really good game. But again, even at this point, it is literally uncalled for to say that it's a great game. We played an incredibly limited thing. And games like this that are tied around progression and unlocks and all of this stuff really need to be out there in the wild, being played, being legitimately devoured by people to see what it really is. At this moment, man, it is still not a real thing. And I think my sensibility is that until the thing is out, until it is actually completely available for people to play, it's not even real. And I have a hard time treating it like it is real. I'm incredibly skeptical, and I preach that skepticism. It's something that I wish that, I don't know, it's something I wish we had more of. I wish we weren't so, this is ridiculous, okay? I wish we weren't so optimistic and pessimistic. Either side. I wish we didn't make decisions.
Right.
We are collectively as gamers the most prejudiced group of people where information is concerned. We are in a race to make a decision, to make a pronouncement. And it's just so unhealthy. It's such gut rot. I don't know, I feel just really weird about it. But I love the conversation. I love the expectation. So I'm trying to intellectually separate the two things.
Mm-hmm. And it can be tough.
It is incredibly tough, yeah.
It can be very difficult to be excited for something, but still not sit on that point of, here's the reason that it's going to be the greatest thing, or here's the reason why I'm so excited about this. I don't know. I suppose I suppose in other aspects that you can legitimately have those feelings. The best way I can look at that, and it's a horrible example, but I'm just trying to find some means of, I suppose, justification, maybe, is that when Zen Studios announces a new pinball table pack, I'm exceedingly excited for this, because it's a new table to play. But it's still in the same vein of everything that I've done. There's really, the core mechanics of that thing doesn't change. Keep the ball from going down the drain. That's it.
Yeah.
The ramps are different, that sort of thing. Maybe you come at it differently for fighters.
It's pretty much the same thing. You competing against someone else, just a different way of doing it. Same thing, different skin.
Do you have a fighting game that you don't like at all? And I'm not saying you're excited and like everyone, or that you're overjoyed with everyone.
I won't say don't like.
That you'll defend them to the death.
Well, I won't say don't like, but I've tried to play the Dead or Alive series. I've tried to play that, but I just could never get used to the defense mechanics in that game. It's just a personal thing. I could never get used to it, so I never really put as much into it as I've done other fighting titles. I mean, I tried it, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand what you're saying about getting, because we are in a period of growth for these new consoles, and we're in a period of. I was about to say, screw this. Where's Watch Dogs?
Yeah. That's not a terrible example of one of the things I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Its reveal, its reveal looked fantastic. And in certain ways, the interactivity and a lot of this presentation was unprecedented. But one of the things I liked so much about the reveal is that it was unheralded. Nobody talked about it. Nobody hyped it up. Its reveal, its imagery, something, again, that turns out to have been heavily choreographed.
Yeah.
And running at unrealistic resolutions and levels of detail and all this other stuff. Whatever. It just was here. Hey, here's this thing. Here's this amazing thing that out of context and with no fanfare, And I enjoyed that because for that moment, there wasn't an argument about it, And I could just think about the thing. There is a recurring fantasy that you might pick up on sometimes, held by certain people, that I would just love. It happens with Half-Life a lot. Man, I would just love if Valve just released it.
Yeah.
Just released it. No announcement, no hesitation, no pushing back of release dates, no slow trickle of preview information, none of this caustic, none of this degrading, none of
the arg.
Don't give me the slow strip tease over 6 to 9 months.
Right.
Just, hey, here, this. Let it be the thing you talk about. The industry of preview, the industry of hype building, I don't think we're equipped for it really well. I think we wind up at odds with each other and we fight too much.
Yeah.
And it causes us to question whether we're being too optimistic or too negative, or to draw lines and be on a side of a thing or not on a side of a thing. And I don't resent it necessarily, but I'm a little exhausted by it. And I'm doing this a while, It's not the age. I mean, we're all relatively old here, but it's the mileage. Yeah. How many times have I seen this? How many previews have I read? How many reviews have I read? How many fights have I been in on the internet? How many times have I disagreed with other people about the quality of a game? How many console launches have I been through? How many times have I been supercharged and then really let down?
Exactly, really.
How many times have I been through all of it?
And that one can fit in so many different things.
Right.
How many times have I been completely let down?
Yeah.
Which is amazing because, again, we still come back for the cheese, as it were.
Yeah. And I'm still chasing it. We talked about this an awful lot before the show, and I can't figure out. I spend more time and money and energy following and playing video games now than I did when I was younger. I have less time, less energy, more money. I don't know exactly how that triangle shapes itself out, but I spend more time chasing this particular hobby, and I'm much more interested in it, and it's blossomed into something much more interesting. But I can't tell if that's because I'm looking for those moments that used to come rapid fire when it was a younger industry, when mistakes didn't cost you as much, I don't think I don't think the creativity is gone. I think people are risk averse. I think it's a tough line of work to be in. It is real easy to get all your chips cashed out at once and be done forever. And nobody wants it. We don't even want it. So, yeah, it's tough, man. There was a time when you could make an incredible life-altering experience as a video game and sell, 250,000 copies and just be, yeah, good job.
Yeah.
You sold 250,000 copies of this thing that only cost a couple $1 million to make. So it's all, I don't know, it's all just become different. But just about myself, I feel like I'm chasing those things now, and they don't come as often anymore.
No, they don't.
That feeling,
It's
and
been a while
everybody's
since we
got to
had
know
that
that feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
That feeling doesn't really show up much anymore.
But going back, something we said off the air last week, and that I just touched on a minute ago was, where is Watch Dogs? Where is this game that has been delayed outright, just a month away from its release? The PR push was behind it. The PR money was behind it. Bundles that you could pre-order for either system to get bundles for Watch Dogs on it. It's on the box of the PS4. Watch Dogs is. Everything was ready to go, and then they delayed it and said it would be around. We would hear something, or that it would maybe release around sometime in this window that we're looking at here.
I believe they had an investor call that said April to June.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, you dump an investor call into a bowl, and like pull out put it in a mortar and pestle and grind it up and like stare at it and try to prognosticate based off of the way the gears are turning in the industry, when's my fun getting here?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always been there. Business is business. Now the sausage making is fully exposed, and it's sort of turning my stomach.
Just makes you wonder what's going on with that thing. Are we going to get the same game that we were shown? Maybe not.
You can't get that game.
Yeah.
So they're guessing second quarter this year.
We're guessing second quarter this year based on what they have intimated in investor calls.
You see another delay if that's the case?
No, I don't, because yet again, knowing the business as we all do, even to a small degree, you understand that at a certain point, it's costing you more and more and more and more and more money, and you're not making anything back.
Yeah, you've
blown past your budget.
You either get a release or you get
Or you just can it.
It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's what has to happen. I think that's why they pushed. I think it's why they waited so long to push it back. They were really trying to figure out if they could was it worth it to recoup anything pushing it out. I'm more fascinated with the game now than I am interested in it, and that's a shame.
Well, I mean, we said the same thing. We were, as we walked out. If somewhere down the road we could have a book written as to what happened with BioShock Infinite to make the changes.
Yeah.
What happened with Watch Dogs that pulled this thing a month away from release?
Yeah.
With that kind of money behind it, saying
indefinitely. It's a fascinating.
I mean, you can look at that
thing,
even more. You can look at that Watch Dogs example even more so than you could the BioShock Infinite, because at the time it didn't get delayed, just sort of vanished.
Mm-hmm.
It just sort of stopped being in the public eye, and then when it reappeared, it had a release date, but it was completely different than what was shown. So, and it's completely different from the game that we were shown in playthroughs and that sort of thing prior to October of 2012, when there was some odd bit of stealth element maybe, and there was just a completely different way the game was laid out. And we got something completely different. It's always left you wondering with, I wonder what could have been. What was this that you made that was functional in some way? How did it work? What was the story there? And why are we getting this one now? And so I'm very curious, the same thing with Watch Dogs, because September, I got a nice little demo of how the second screen thing worked with the iPad, live demo as it were, pre-orders outside the booth, get a t-shirt for it when you do, and then canceled, or not canceled, but then delayed. So I don't know. I don't know where that goes. I don't know when we'll hear anything about it. It's just one of those things where it's like, hey, remember this? Because we do. You guys should throw a bone to say, okay, we'll tell you more about it next month, or we'll do this. So whatever the case, I don't know. So what are we playing this week?
More Thief.
More Thief for you. More Thief for you. More Diablo probably for you.
Play Diablo. Play
I need to load that up.
What else is going on? You know.
I totally forgot that earlier this week before Thief came out, Monday I think it was, I got back into Sleeping Dogs. Because, that's one of those I just like pick up every now and then, play it for a little more, put it down. And I'm still really enjoying that game.
Anybody get Strider?
Yeah, I did. I'm going to try to finish. I'm going to try to finish that off before next show.
Okay.
I got to
PS3.
PS3. I got to. I think where I got to was. I think I got to the first post sisters, the Tong post sisters from the series. I got to the first one. I think there are 2 more I have to face. I think. I'm not sure, but like I said, I'm going to try to finish it off before the next show is up.
As for me, I don't. Thief will come in for PS4, and I'll be playing that, which is kind of nice because I'll play that on my PS4, which I haven't given a lot of time to either of the consoles as far as gaming is concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
and so I'll have that.
And been much to give time to.
Yeah.
That's
You have to carve out something sort of on purpose. That's what I did with Assassin's Creed.
That's not entirely true for me. For me, I've got like quite a few Xbox One games that I haven't played. I just told you I accidentally launched Zoo Tycoon. I haven't touched it. Rise, Dead Rising 3, Forza. Honestly, I forget that they're there. I don't have a box to tell me that they're there. Not that I needed one, but it's
that's that visual reminder.
It kind of
when
is.
When it's
for
hidden
whatever
away
reason,
on the hard drive.
For whatever reason, it's embedded in my head that when I go to my computer, I just go to my Steam library.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I go to my console, not so much.
Yeah.
That your library's sitting there on your console now.
I'm the same way, even like with the 360, with all the Xbox arcade games. I'm the same way that I don't seem to think to go through there and remember, oh yeah, I totally forgot I had X game, whatever.
I'll do that sometimes with my Steam list, though. It's the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go through it and be like, oh, I totally forgot I bought that.
Yeah.
I saw a little bit of Forza on a demo for Xbox One. How you liking that?
I
looks pretty good.
I haven't touched it.
Oh, haven't touched it.
That's my problem. That's what I was saying, is that I can't say that, he was saying that finally you get a game, you have something to play on your consoles. And I was like, that's not entirely true. I've got quite a few titles that I haven't touched on my Xbox One.
Okay, yeah.
So, but that's just me. So, get in some of those, play some Thief. Thankfully, I don't have a other event to stress out over for the week leading up to the show, so I can actually put some time into that. I don't know. I'm thinking about South Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Thinking about it. Maybe rent it.
It's getting
I'm really tired of not having current gen stuff on my Redbox.
It's getting censored lightly for the consoles.
I thought that was just in the UK and Europe.
Is that not here?
I didn't think it was here, but I could be wrong.
Certain scenes.
I could be wrong on that. Medusa's Mirror asks, is anybody putting in time with Elder Scrolls Online Beta? And Cavalier says it's boring me at the moment, and I hear that a ton from people.
Previously. I've put in a couple of really good weekends, and I do not care for it.
I heard that a lot.
It is not horrible, but it is
not worth your time.
Man, it is wrongly boring.
I talked to somebody who tried it out, and I said they'd asked me. They said, "What have you heard about this?" And I said, "We got a few people who tried to play it. Or we got one person that's played it, and other people that I've heard from who said they don't like it." I said, "Well, let me try." And then got in touch with me again and said, I'm playing Elder Scrolls. I'm playing Skyrim because I feel that's so much more of a better experience for me."
It is. I don't feel like it's even remotely the same experience. I don't care for it. I wish they had either run further away from the Elder Scrolls or stuck closer to it, if that makes any sense. I think it is a bad hybrid, and It is a lot of time and money chasing something that just is not going to work.
Yeah.
Full box cost plus a subscription. You got to get up really early in the morning to be able to pull that one off.
Yeah.
And they slept in late.
When's Arkham Origins DLC coming out? Isn't that supposed
April
to be soon?
22nd.
Oh, that's not soon enough.
April 22nd. Although, we should be hearing something this week regarding something with Assassin's Creed and regarding something with possibly Rocksteady's Batman.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah,
All these little rumors of like retailers getting in their promotional things to throw up on the walls and stuff, but nothing solid yet. So we may, but again, you know, it'll be a tease of something, and we'll have no more than that. So that is about it. I want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat room, as well as everybody listening on the stream or even on the radio. Thanks to everybody who grabs us every week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use. We really appreciate it. Go to ingamechat.net. You can join us on Twitter, Facebook, or our forums at colonyofgamers.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're on Steam, we've got a Steam group where you can join up with over there and play games with us and other listeners. So thanks everybody in the chat room who's been listening. Thanks for everybody who called in tonight, and we will see you next week. Here's music from Chrono Trigger. This is Lavos' theme.